Alright everybody, so welcome back to Otaku Gamer Zone. So for today's ranty video, I'm going to be talking about our experience with Anime NebrasKon. This convention ran in Omaha, Nebraska from November 10th to the 12th of last week, and unfortunately it's not going to be a fun discussion, but let's get started nonetheless. So disclaimer, this video might get a little bit ranty. I'm still kind of fighting myself. It's like a tug of war between, like I had some enjoyable aspects of it, but then I had some not so enjoyable aspects of this. And of course, this is always an opinion piece, so some of you that may be watching that probably went to Anime NebrasKon probably had a fantastic time, probably had a lot better experience than I had, and may have been attending the convention longer than I have as a first-time attendee. But from my personal experiences, it wasn't adequately prepared, nor was it a fun convention layout to actually experience firsthand. So let's just dive right into it. So for those who don't know, Anime NebrasKon, like I said, is an anime convention held in Omaha, Nebraska, in usually about the second week of November. This time it fell November 10th to the 12th of last week for 2017. And like any other anime convention, it's just, the local area's convention. So unfortunately for me, it was a convention that me and my group spent $200 to go to visit with friends and take cosplay photography and buy anime merchandise. It's what it boiled down to. And that's an unfortunate part, because what a convention is supposed to convey is an experience to you. It's supposed to convey a level of, you interacting with people you don't really get to interact with a lot, meeting new friends and new faces who share the same enjoyment that you do. Now, unfortunately for me, Anime NebrasKon was anything but. It stemmed from press issues with their alcohol policy at the convention, and just how the panels are structured and the staff overall. It wasn't a fun convention, and to just kind of get the ball rolling, nothing against their press representative. I have a high feeling this is probably their very first time being press for Anime NebrasKon, and if I'm wrong, then this needs a lot more polish if it's going to be professional. Unfortunately for me, my first experience with Anime NebrasKon was getting an email 3 a.m. in the morning the day of the convention stating that as press I cannot cover panels, and if I wish to go to panels I must buy a regular badge. So first off, two things wrong with that. I can go to NakaCon, I can get a press pass, a full weekend badge, and I can do everything a convention goer can do. I can still go to paid events, I just have to pay for them myself. It's not like they're blocking me out of that. It's just that if I'm going to be taking part in the events, I can't be taking pictures really unless they give me express consent. The other aspect of that is, I can't just use a press pass to get into a paid event and then just take part in the event. If I'm there to cover it, I'm there to cover it. It's, one way or the other. And of course, I can't go into panels and film without, asking. So when they released this email, I was like, okay, it's the day of the convention, so what am I gonna do? So fired off an email, asked a few other press reps that were going, they got the same type of email. And so about halfway through our trip there, I finally got an email back responding that, oh hey, sorry, there's some miscommunication, and you can do whatever you want to your heart's content, just make sure you get approval from the panelists to record. Bueno, cool, awesome. So that in itself was a tough start, and unfortunately from that point, it kind of just didn't impress anymore. We got to the convention. One great thing that I think Anime NebrasKon does phenomenally well is line management. Line management at this convention was actually really well done. Now, bear in mind, this part is not the convention staff's fault, it's more the layout of the convention, but some of the lines got ungodly out of hand because of how much hallway this convention has. There's no really big open spaces besides a big common area in the very beginning of the convention. Everything else just runs into a hallway, so when you're lining up for panels that aren't for another panel, it gets a little maddening and confusing. But in the convention staff's defense, that a lot of conventions are slowly starting to implement are the line end here staffies that will sit there with a giant pole that says the line ends here, and it's great management. It helps alleviate lines, and I've never seen a registration area so well organized and so just less dense than usual conventions, because they manage it well. They mailed out regular passes, to convention goers that purchased them, so you got those in the mail, so you didn't need to wait in line to get your badge, which again, A+ on that front. like any convention though, press passes are always usually issued at the convention, so that's fine if they don't get mailed out. But beyond that though, like the line management at this convention, top notch. The staff giving you the stink eye when you're taking pictures around the convention, not so much top notch, especially when you're a member of the press and they're kind of giving you sideways looks like, why are you doing that? You know, why are you taking pictures of our convention? And for me, it's like, I'm taking pictures because I'm press. I'm here to make sure, you know, I'm covering it properly, telling my readers and viewers, you know, what to expect from the convention. And at this point in time on Friday, you know, once you're there, you got your press pass, you're taking pictures, you maybe have attended a panel, or like we did, we went to the vendor hall, which was a mixed package. But you know, when you're sitting there and the staff is just looking at you like glaring eyes, like, why do you have a camera? Why are you taking pictures? And it's like, you don't feel welcomed there as press. At least that's what I got from my side of the impression. Maybe for whatever reason at that hour I was just meeting all the angry staff individuals. Maybe somebody else who was press that was filming and taking pictures wasn't getting snake eye stares or glances, or you know, this kind of stink eye that's like looming in the background. You know, beyond that though, the vendor hall though, I've seen a lot better. The vendor hall is packed into a very small room. It's basically, you know, if you've ever been to a convention, like a normal panel sized room, not like a grand one, like a ballroom size, but just, you know, kind of like a traditional, you know, maybe it seats maybe at most almost near 100 people. That's how big the vendor hall was. And the ceiling wasn't as high as those panel rooms. The ceiling came down to, well, I mean, I'm 6 foot. The ceiling in here is probably 10 foot. That's how low the ceiling hung. And when you cram, you know, vendor stalls in there and people, it gets messy. The vendor hall too was lacking. There was I know personally a few artists that dropped out. There maybe were 3 or 4 big vendors that took up 50% of the space, and that was pretty much it. It was just poorly organized. They had so much more room in that convention and other places they probably could have placed the vendor hall. Is an example, the dance room that they used for that, they could have easily put it in the vendor hall room and still had ample room for a dance party. They could have just easily moved the vendor hall into the room that the dance party was in. I think it would have went over a lot better, and I think it would have been managed a hell of a lot better than it was previously done. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a convention planner, so I don't know what goes into this layout plan. Beyond that though, I mean, the convention though, in terms of panels, was very hit or miss. We went to 5 panels in total. I myself went to 4 of them. Out of the first 3, the sports panel, the wrestling cut panel, and the Funimation Peep Show panel, Funimation should be, I mean, it's really not a fan panel, so you know what to expect from a Funimation one. They're very well done. But, you know, the latter 3, the last one I went to was on Sunday, and it was a K-pop panel. Very good, drunk experience, but still very good. And the panelist wasn't even running the panel, the crowd was supposed to run the panel in this one. So very mixed baggage, and unfortunately for me, as somebody who attends a convention, if you're a panel host, your job is to host the panel. Your job is to convey that information. It's like me with the K-pop panel. The individual was a staff member. They got approved for it. They said they made changes based on last year, and they proceeded to not have anything to talk about, and then starting to ask us for new news in the K-pop industry. So flag 1, if I'm hosting the panel on how to run an anime blog or an anime website, I will tell you guys, you want to use WordPress, you want to do this, you want to make sure you're engaging on social media pages, you want to make sure you're promoting yourself, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, I inform you guys, I give you guys some information. It's not like I host this panel and then I'm like, okay guys, anyone here know how to set up a website? Oh yeah, can you, hey yo, you in the back over there, can you come up here and show us? That's not how you run a panel. That's just them running the panel for you so you can learn something. And for me, that's not a translated experience. That's something that shouldn't happen at all at a convention. And again, maybe I'm just being cynical and ranty, but from what I've experienced at conventions like NakaCon and even Star Wars Celebration back in California, you don't get that. I mean, it's all ran in the sense that they're providing you something that you don't know, and you're going to learn about it while you're in this panel. But besides that, though, the other panels I went to, the sports one, the wrestling cut, and of course Funimation's Peep Show, brilliant, very well done. The sports anime panel was actually my favorite fan-ran panel. It was set up properly. It had great amounts of information, taught me something about sports anime and why and how they all kind of interconnect nicely, which is why a lot of them are very enjoyable. So very awesome, but unfortunately, the majority of those panels were lacking. And to touch on the drunkenness aspect, this convention, I would say a proper word for it is an open alcohol convention, like an open carry, or a wet convention, I guess I can say, where basically you have people that are going across the convention floor, vendor hall, panels, common area, and they're drinking openly. Some of them throwing up, some of them getting tased by the police force that was on site to cover volunteer staff. I feel safe. I mean, this convention just didn't mesh together properly for whatever reason, but going into a panel and then having them be like, oh yeah, I'm drunk, I'm tipsy, or whatever. Granted, that was the wrestling cup panel, but they still ran it perfectly fine. But again, like the K-pop panel, it sort of just slowly devolved into the fans running it. Which is fine in this sense because it's just monologuing, which is what wrestling cut is, so you kind of have to have volunteers do that. But at the same time, it was bordering on that being ran by the audience versus being ran by the panelists. And unfortunately, like I said, nothing puts me off more than seeing stupid drunken behavior at a convention, especially when there's still young kids around, because the thing about conventions, most families will go on a Saturday. They'll bring their kids because they make it an all-day thing. So they'll start early in the morning and they'll run it late at night, so that way their children can probably get the best experience they can get. But when you have people running around acting stupid and drinking alcohol, it presents itself as an unprofessional convention, and frankly, it's not something you want to engage with. Another aspect that drives me nuts was how they handled photo shoots, particularly the Love Live photo shoot. Again, ran by staff members. This is a reoccurring theme of the staff of this convention. They cut it well short, 30 minutes short of its hour-long run. Now, in my defense, I did not hear if this person had to leave early, if they had to go help with another panel or, cosplay contest or whatever. They had an hour slot. And I would highly bet my money that it was because they had to go and set up to take pictures for the cosplay contest panel. But if you're running a photo shoot for an hour, you run it for an hour. You're not going to cut it short, because what happened was a few groups missed out on a photo shoot because they were told it's from 6 to 7. They weren't told that it was started at 5:40 and ended at 4:40 and ended at 5:30ish. So, 6:30ish, sorry, 5. They weren't told that it was started at 5:40 and ended at about 6:30ish. So right then and there, you have a bad taste in the mouth, a bad impression of a setup, and this was ran by a staff member. All the other photo shoots that I saw, we had a friend who took part in the Marvel versus DC photo shoot, and that one ran a solid hour, maybe if a little bit over. And pretty much everything else that I saw, the Star Wars ones, they ran a full hour. And especially the Ruby one, for goodness sake, it ran a full hour. But this one, it didn't. And the convention did nothing to inform the cosplayers, because as I tell everybody, cosplay is a process. You take a long time to get the makeup right, to get the wig styled, to get your outfit set up, and especially for those who had cyber sets, you got to make sure the battery plugins are working, you got to make sure the lights are working, you got to make sure everything's on. Cosplay is an involved process. It's not just something you slip on like a cheap Halloween costume that you buy at a store. And unfortunately, I had to do my best to help photo shoot for another group. It's not something I'm professional at by any means, but I had to because the staff member felt she had better obligations to go to. They could have easily have swapped out with somebody else. They could have easily just said, hey, I need you to go here and I'll take over for the photo shoot. But again, on the side of the convention, they didn't inform anybody. So, that just left a sour taste. And Sunday, the panel, we were gonna go to more panels, and just that first K-pop panel just hit us with a bad taste, and we started packing and left the convention at 1 p.m. that day. So, Anime NebrasKon, now, okay, the layout of the convention, the snaky, narrow hallways, that's not a fault of Anime NebrasKon, that's a fault of Hotel RL and the stupidity that is that layout. It's narrow, it's old. If they said they were remodeling the convention center, they were just basically remodeling one part of the convention center, and the rest of it could have used some, TCL or whatever. It just needs a lot more work for someone like me to warrant coming back again to Anime NebrasKon. For some of us, that's a 5.5 hour drive both ways, and while I still had fun engaging with friends, meeting new faces, meeting some fantastic cosplayers who legitimately love what they do, the convention itself wasn't a good convention. They got kicked out of a prior convention center they moved to. Granted, they moved to it because of the remodel, but after they were done, that convention basically said, hey guys, don't come back. And unfortunately, that probably has to deal with the fact that they allow alcohol on the convention floor. But that's my small rants. I've only gone to a few conventions, so I'm not the biggest person that can, give you guys input. I'm just giving you guys input as Costas from Otaku Gamer Zone. I'm covering the convention, talking about it, and unfortunately, I have to end and say Anime NebrasKon was my final convention of 2017, and that makes me quite upset, to be honest. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my little rant. Unfortunately, as far as if I was going to say if you should go to Anime NebrasKon, at your own expense, at your own mileage, just be prepared to probably not be as wowed as it if you're also an avid attender of things like Anime St. Louis or NakaCon here in KC and St. Louis respectively. You're probably going to be slightly disappointed. Now, again, if you're a longtime attendee of Anime NebrasKon, then you probably have a different lens. You probably see it in a different light and have been able to have chances to see it throughout its years of growth and change. So hopefully this translates something back to me, and because I want to be informed about this. I want to see what you guys think about Anime NebrasKon as well, and if your guys had a much better experience than I previously had as a member of press. So thank you guys again for coming by and watching. If you guys would like to read our written review of Anime NebrasKon, you guys can check that out in the links down below. And as always, the affiliate and donation links that we post, they go straight into helping Otaku Gamer Zone build content, make content, get content. So that's a big help to us, and I appreciate all that help for you guys. I'm working on doing some fun stuff for our upcoming 3-year anniversary for Otaku Gamer Zone, so hopefully you guys will be excited for all that stuff when it actually rolls out. I'm planning on maybe doing a giveaway of a few things, so we'll find out as soon as that gets closer to the 3-year period. But as it stands, guys, this has been Costas from Otaku Gamer Zone. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Peace.